I like it.
You remember how to do this, right?
I do.
just like riding a bike.
Just like riding a bike. Welcome to Driftwood Guitars. My name is Chris. Behind the camera is Matt, as always. And we're finally back after 6 to 8 weeks of not shooting regular videos. Mm-hmm. And it has killed us to not shoot videos all the time, but it's also been kind of nice to not have to shoot videos. But this year, coming up, 2022, we are going to be putting them out. Lots and lots and lots of videos. So it's nice to have a little bit of a break. We made a bunch of guitar progress, but now we're back at it, and we're going to get things started off with a 3,000-year-old build video. We've had so many people who think that we're either dead or kidnapped or that we've given up on guitar building altogether.
You know what's really cool? Thanks to everyone. Like, I had people reach out to me personally. I don't even really matter that much around here. Like, you know, you're the face.
You matter.
You're the face and the brains, and I'm like the. But people are like, "Hey, are you guys okay?" Like, legitimately concerned. I was like, "Oh yeah, no, just like really busy." And you know, like, yeah, if we're gonna make guitars, we should probably make some guitars. So like, yeah, that's what we had to do.
Eventually, we had to put the guitar building into our guitar building business. I think we've learned some things. We've sorted out a little bit of a schedule so that we can shoot regularly and still get guitar work done.
Workflow.
We have so many videos getting ready to come down the pipeline for you guys. Some really cool new series, and then also finishing up old series too, like this 3,000-year-old one. Matt is still going to finish the amp build video.
Yeah,
he is. It's just there's only so much time in the day.
The prophets foretold the day when our young hero would reemerge, ready to build the amp again.
But so we're gonna kick off we're not really kicking off the new year, but it's close to the new year. We're gonna kick off coming back to the YouTubes with getting the next step done on the 3,000-year-old build series. So I'm excited about that. I think the glue is probably dry.
You can never be too sure with these things.
This has now been in this condition for at least 6 weeks. I think probably. Did that make any of you guys nervous watching it almost fall off the table there? Yeah, it's been in the tape and the rubber bands for quite some time now. But we'll quickly take all this tape off, and then I'll show you guys where we are. All right, we got the tape off. It looks really nice. I love how this white binding just really contrasts super hard against the ebony back and sides on here. So normally, if you're not doing an arm bevel, you're just going to rinse and repeat that same process on the front side. If you're adding abalone to it, there's a little bit of an addition to that. But in our case, we're not only are we adding abalone, but we're also doing the arm bevel. And I know that we left so many of you guys hanging. I kept getting messages from folks who were like, bro, I'm right where you are on a 3,000-year-old build, but I can't move forward until you move forward. So
thanks for being patient.
Thanks for being patient. Yeah. All right. So me and Matt talked about what we wanted to shoot in this episode, and I think that what we're going to focus on is kind of the beginning process of building up this arm bevel side. I think I had mentioned early in the process of doing this arm bevel that it's kind of like a process of doing it from the inside out. And so now we're getting to the part where we're going to begin turning this into an actual bevel. But we have to build it up just a little bit more. We got to do two things. The first thing that we need to do is, because we hand shaped this section here and this section here, and the rest of this is all cut on the router using the binding jig, what we end up with is a really quick drop off into the bevel, and we also end up with a quick turn here into the bevel. So what I tend to do is to take some sandpaper and a sanding stick, and we're going to smooth those out just to make the transition a lot smoother. To me, a really good, either you do arm bevels so that like they're intentionally very abrupt and it looks pretty good, or you do them so that they're very, very smooth transitions. And I prefer the smooth transition look I want it to look like the binding has actually melted. So don't try to do a little of each because it won't look good. So what we'll do is just get my little sanding stick. It's nothing fancy. It's literally a stick with some sandpaper on it.
Well, slow down.
I think that maybe, can we get this on camera at all? Can we see how much of a transition that is right there? It's right where the corner of this is poking, where the corner is. Do you see it at all? I don't know. But all we're going to do is I'm going to take this and we're just going to blend it a little bit. I don't know how good any of this comes out on camera, but I think we get the idea.
It's not terrible.
And then we're going to do the same thing here. Actually, I'm going to use a file on that lower section.
So why'd you switch from the sandpaper to the file?
Because this is ebony and it's it would take forever for that. Plus, this is going to be more precise. So you can really see here what we're trying to do. We want to make that just drop off into the bevel very smooth.
Gotcha.
All of these things that if you forget to do them now, suddenly will become very evident once we do the very last step, which is applying the veneer to the bevel. So that looks really nice. Let's make sure this is smooth. Grain directions and all that stuff still apply. That looks good. It looks really nice. This one looks really good. It might need just a little bit. Let me get my... It's so hard to see this on camera, I'm sure of it. But there's a spot right here where this bevel is kind of coming out this way and this one's coming out this way, so there's a slight peak right here, and then right here is the peak of where those two meet. So I just need to smooth those out a little bit, and just like I said, to ease that transition. There's no easy way to do this on camera.
Is that just from where the router like stopped, basically?
Yeah, the two geometries kind of just don't match up with one another. It's not where it stopped, it's where it transitioned from being a router bit to when it fell off of the piece that we have, like that it was guiding it. And so you just kind of have to blend them together. Now remember, the reason why this is important, because this is going to have maple, in this particular case, dark wood, and maple. And so that very edge is going to be the boundary that is where that binding or where the bevel shows itself. I'm trying to think if I had one over there. I don't. And if it's not done correctly, you're going to end up with a wavy edge on it. So you have to really try to get it as smooth as possible, because that edge is going to show itself really well. Actually, hold on to that real quick. Yeah, so here we go. If that edge isn't done correctly, that's what's going to show up right here, and you're going to end up with a wavy side to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same thing here. This becomes the definitive edge. See how this transitions very smoothly from a nice radius and then back into this inside radius. And if you didn't carefully do that, you'd end up with a little bit of a bump right there. Same thing here. See how smoothly that just begins to drop off? Mm-hmm. If you didn't do that right here, you'd have a really hard drop off, like an angle. So
Gotcha.
That's kind of what we're doing. Some of these things on these arm bevels are tough for me to describe, because like I know how they'll affect the finished result if you don't do them right. But so I'm gonna do my best to try to to show you what I'm doing and why. Okay, let me just see that one there. So the inside one here can be kind of difficult to get smooth. So what I tend to do is actually use a small chisel. I'll take this and knock it down with a chisel. You see where I'm taking that out? Mm-hmm. We're just, once again, trying to create a smooth transition. Now, the guitar that I just showed you as an example has pearl abalone on it, which can hide some of that, but that looks really good. I think we can hopefully see that there. That's a nice smooth drop off.
Yeah.
Very subtle, very small little things that if you didn't know to do, you wouldn't even do them, and then you would go, why does that look so weird? I know this because my first couple arm bevels, you can see that quite visibly. So, next thing, and this only applies to people who've been following like literally how I build my guitars, because I do my sides laminate. They are double the thickness. Me and Matt, do you get down with the thickness? So what happens is if we were to apply our binding to this, because they're so thick, This ledge is too tall for this. See, now there's a giant gap. If you're not doing laminate sides, it's not an issue that you're coming across. So what I need to do is I need to build this up with a sacrificial piece of wood that's gonna go right inside there. I'm gonna glue that on because if we do that, then I apply this on top of it. Look, now we're back to the correct thickness. It's nice and flush.
Okay, cool.
So that's all of this piece of wood that we're about to do. I'm gonna glue this on, and it is just a sacrificial piece of wood to help build this back up. This won't be the only piece of sacrificial wood that we glue on here, but it's the first one. This is just a straight grained piece of maple that we use for doing our title casters. So I'm gonna show you this. What you're gonna want to have for doing arm bevels is you're gonna want thumbtacks. Thumbtacks are a very useful tool for this particular process. I'm just gonna tack this in place real quick. We're just gonna cut this to size real fast. I'm just gonna wrap this around, and we gonna cut it right around there. Thanks for bearing with me as I kind of get back in the groove here into the YouTubery. The YouTubery. So I'm just gonna use.
I lost it. Did I ever even have
Did
it?
I ever even have it? Every once in a while, I'll get some nasty email from somebody, like this morning, and it reminds me of the not so fun parts of doing YouTube.
Oh God.
But most of you guys have been super awesome, man. All right, so just knocking this down with a chisel real fast. No need to make it perfect. You can see I put like this hard angle on it, and now it fits nicely in there. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more of an angle to it. It'll go right there. And so that fits nicely, and we're going to wrap this thing all the way around, and not too hard. So let me put some glue on this, and we'll just do it. And then we're going to fast forward in time for you guys so you don't have to watch us let this dry, because this is kind of boring. Remembering, folks, that this, you need to take the material thickness of this build-up piece. It's going to be as thick as it needs to be in order so that your binding becomes flush with the outside. I hope that it makes sense. I think, right, Matt?
Yeah.
I keep asking Matt because, am I describing this good enough?
Because I'm kind of learning all this stuff as we go along.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So once again, if you don't have laminated sides, you probably don't even need to worry about this. But still look at it and see if you do need to add anything. It might just be paper thin that you need to add to it.
Dry fit, dry fit, dry fit.
Dry fit, yeah, exactly. Look at Matt, he's learning.
Ow.
Look at
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then.
You're up so fast. All right, so we're gonna keep pushing this thing around here. The thumbtacks work really good, and this basswood. If you're using some sort of backing material for your bevel that's not basswood, it can be kind of hard to do. But you're actually gonna use the flat part on your thumbtack as the kind of the clamp. And it is like a double compound radius, so it doesn't really want to bend around here very good, but it's gonna work. You'll learn today. Look at that. Look at it. Would you look at it? I need to adjust that. High risk, high reward. Don't try this at home. One slip of the chisel, we are up creek here. There we go. Remember, it's just a backing piece. It doesn't have to be pretty. There we go. Dang. There we go. That's what I wanted. So I'm just going to add these extra, so you end up with these little gaps in here just because it's, like I said, it's like a double compound radius. So I'm just going to add some more just so that it's nice and flush. once you start using thumbtacks for this stuff, man, you start to realize like these things are super useful around the shop too for doing clamp ups. That looks good. I just need to make that nice and tight right there. See how it's not sitting flush? So I'm gonna push it up like this. And then what I tend to do a lot of the time is actually just take a little bit of some scrap binding material. And I just kind of use it as a, just as a caul. You can call me Al.
Nope.
Is this thing on?
Nope.
There we go. See how that pushed nice and flush against it? And this will just dry for 20-30 minutes until medium rare.
All right.
And then we'll be back. All right, so we have let this dry for, I don't know, 2 hours? Why not? Like I said, you only gotta let it dry for just a few minutes at home. Well, 30 minutes. I wouldn't go less than that if you're using wood glue. Listen, I make things up as I go.
I was about to say, you're giving very irresponsible advice here, but okay.
Because this is, the reason I'm kind of being lackadaisical with dry time there is just because this is like I said, just a build-up, sacrificial piece of wood. So it doesn't gotta be perfect. So we've got that in place. I feel happy with it. It's sitting there very nicely. So let's show the folks what we've got there, right? It looks good. Looks good. Most importantly, now when I lay this on here, it's gonna sit flush. Okay, so as you can see, the next step is to glue the binding on, but how do we get this binding to blend into the bevel, right? That's where the real mystery is. That's where, like, how do we do this and make it all work? So what we need to do right now is kind of get this thing lined up in place, and we're actually gonna thin out this piece of binding by quite a bit. We're gonna make it much thinner because we need to be able to bend it down and around this bevel. So that's where the real trick here is. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna kind of tack it in place. Like I said with my binding, always I try to start at the waist. So I'm gonna tack this kind of here in the waist area. And what we're gonna do is get a pencil and we're gonna start marking it right here. And we're gonna wrap this thing around just very lightly here to right there is where our bevel ends. So we're gonna kind of scoop it there. Now what we're gonna do, pull this off. You can do this with a hand plane if you want, but I'm gonna do it with my spindle sander. I'm actually gonna take all this material here. And we're gonna get rid of all this material up here. So we're gonna make it much narrower, and you will see why here in just a second. So I'm gonna go to spindle sander. Shop is dirty over there, but we work for a living here. Okay, so this is like kind of like how we reshape the soundboard to fit the bevel. We have to reshape our binding to fit the bevel, and it looks uglier than sin when you do it, a la Bob Ross with the trees. But then you go, wow, those trees are beautiful when you're all done. So as you can see, it's much narrower here, much narrower. Focus.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep, so you can see how we've done that, right? So let me put it on here just to show you why we did that now. I think it'll start to make a little bit more sense. So I'm gonna tack this in place right at the waist again. Everything up into the bevel is just like normal. We're just gonna glue that binding in like we did on the back. It's nice and flat here, right? We're gonna have a shelf for our abalone. Let me just tack on one more piece. We're not worried about that though, because what we've done this for now is that we can actually force this to bend down and sit and match that contour. See how it nicely fits? I smell like we painting what I'm priming. Mm-hmm. And then this will come around. We're just dry fitting real quick. This isn't the glue up.
So you don't have to be super precise about this because you're going to blend all this into the future bevel itself too, right?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
And then boom, see how that lines back up again here? Mm-hmm. But we do want this maple to butt all the way up very flush against here.
Yeah.
But this is all going to be, all the binding that we've put in here, in a couple of steps from now, we're going to knock all this back down again to 45 degrees to be the actual bevel. And then the veneer is going to get glued on top of that. But, so what we need to do at this point is trim my piece of binding. This is going to be our visible joint here. There's going to be a butt joint for the two pieces of binding that match up. So we're going to find center. We're going to hit it. And we're going to give it a nice clean 90-degree cut. This one's not nearly as important because this is where the mortise and tenon go for our neck block, or for our neck joint. So let me cut this, and then we're going to glue it in, and then we'll be done with this episode. But I hope that this is beginning to make sense. I think you guys at home will start to really see what's going on here, because in this one, it just starts to look like something, but in the next episode, when we start to do all the abalone and stuff on the bevel side, is going to go, aha, it's going to really start to make sense. So follow along, even if you don't understand. Never understand. Look at it. Make some new snips, Matt.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Have you seen these things?
Are they? Hang on, let me, oh boy.
Yeah. I've seen better days.
God.
Looks good, feels good, smells good. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue this thing on now. This is very similar to what you just saw me do with dry fit, just with a little bit of glue. Now, I have not done my my abalone and everything up here. So we're gonna be very gentle with our glue up. We don't want to get any glue in this area. I know this is a little unorthodox. Those of you that have done this at home before know that normally when you do all your pearl, like in one of the previous episodes, we'll put a link to that up here on how to install pearl on a guitar. You normally would do your binding, your purfling, and your Teflon strip all at the same time. This has got a lot more moving parts to it, so we're going to not put any of that in at this moment. We're going to do that in the next episode. So just being very careful with our glue, not to go too nuts with it, so that it doesn't squeeze up into what is going to be our abalone channel. Getting this nice down in that corner. Feels good, smells good, looks good. All right, so because this is the one joint that needs to be perfect, we're gonna start there. You always start on your binding where the visible joint is gonna be. All right, that's sitting very nice. So now we're gonna move over to our section where we can begin doing our, what are these called? Thumbtacks. Really, this first band is usually the hardest. Nice, good squeeze out. I like to do it. I like to start them kind of like this, and then bend them in. It gives you really good pressure down on the binding. Looks very nice. And then we'll do one up here like this. If you're gonna get a spot where there's a gap, it's usually right here where it transitions down. Looks very nice. Little tape. I'm gonna space these out pretty good right this second until I know how many thumbtacks I have so I don't run out. It's very satisfying. I think that there's different ways that people are doing this. This is just the way that I learned. So, you know, don't at me. This is the, I think I talked about this a few episodes ago, but this is the Kent Everett style of doing arm bevels. I bought his DVD years ago. He hates me for doing this video series now. It just occurred to me. But if you're really wanting a real concise way of doing this, I'll put a link to that DVD video series. Even if you don't have a DVD player, it's worth buying as well as a cheap DVD player for really kind of just step 1, step 2, step 3 on arm bevels. Since mine's all jumbled up in the middle of this 3,000-year-old video series. So, I'm teaching that technique here, but if you're looking for a really just get to the point way of doing it, buy that DVD and give him some of your money, because I don't want to be responsible for taking food off somebody's table.
His kids need shoes, man.
Yeah, kids are grown. So we're gonna just fill in all those spots now. That since I know how much thumbtacks I have.
Yeah, what's your favorite Christmas gift you got this year?
What is my favorite gift I got this year? Listen, my wife got me a taste club thing for some scotch. Ooh. So I've already got my first order of that, and I got a flask for my scotch. I got other good stuff too. Oh my God, my wife got me some is it Tommy John? Yeah, Tommy John PJs, and I've heard the ads for these Tommy John underwear and PJs on XM radio, and I'm like, yeah. She got me a pair. I literally giggled when I put them on. They're so comfortable. So, if Tommy John wants to sponsor some of our videos, that would be amazing. But this is not a sponsored video. Just go buy some Tommy John PJs, and you will be in PJ heaven. Those are probably my favorite gift. So, I think that, once I get to the end here, is going to do it for this one. We'll just make sure everything looks good. And we're not going to do the rubber band method on this one. I've always had issues with them kind of messing up this joint area here. So this looks really good to me. And I'm super excited to be back. I know Matt is too. We're really, really happy to be back shooting videos for you guys. Hope everybody had a good Christmas and that you're following along on the build. Thanks, guys.
Or whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Happy New Year.
That was...
Wow. What was that face?
I had a sneeze coming.
Dude, do you think I'm not going to zoom in on that and make you look like a total idiot?
Woo! Yes, whatever you celebrate, everybody celebrates New Year, though. So
I
hope everybody's going to have a good year.
Except if you're in China. That's a whole different calendar.
That's true.